What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another chess opening series, and in this little video series we're going to be covering the Ruy Lopez, aka the Spanish opening, aka one of my favorite openings. And this is actually one of the most popular openings for white, and it is so for a good reason. It allows white to have really quick piece development. It also allows for quick castling. And aside from all those benefits, it just follows a lot of really solid opening principles, which is probably the main reason I love it so much. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and get right into it. The Ruy Lopez starts out with pawn to e4, controlling the center, and black's response, which is the most common response to e4, is just e5, just trying to even things out. Now from here, white's second move is knight to f3. So this move, although it looks pretty innocent at first, it has a ton of benefits that I just want to talk about real quick. The first and most obvious thing is that it controls two vital central squares, one of them, most importantly right now, being an attack on the pawn on e5. Another thing that it does is it helps develop the knight towards the center where they have maximum mobility, and it also helps starting to prepare for castling. So right now we are one bishop move away, which is no spoiler alert, but it's going to be the next turn, and then we're going to be able to castle. So I lied. There's one other thing I thought of, and that is whenever we do castle, although we're getting kind of ahead of ourselves, this knight is actually in a prime position to help defend the king's fortress. So that is all the benefits of this knight move. Such a beautiful move, if you ask me. So now black's response, since getting your knight out is beneficial for all the right reasons, is knight to c6. Again, all the benefits I already talked about bringing your knight out, but what this also does is it helps protect their pawn and of course develops it towards the center, tomato, tomato, potato, potato. So these are really just normal developing moves, not anything specific to the Ruy Lopez. The Ruy Lopez itself is signified by this move right here, bishop to b5. So now you can even see on my little chess.com opening indicator, I guess it's called. This position is called the Roy Lopez Opening. And from here, there has been countless study, countless different variations, a lot of debate on how to play this, and we're going to be going over a lot of those in this video series. But for right now, I just want to show you the most common line. But before we get into that, I'll talk to you about this b5 move right here. So the importance of this is, first of all, if we take a look at black's position, they have a pawn right here that we are attacking, and this knight is actually the only defender of this pawn as of this moment. So what we can do is, if we put ourselves in a position to attack this knight, then it essentially, if we were to capture this, it would break the possibility for black to defend this pawn. So we're kind of breaking the chain of protection here. So that's one key benefit. Another thing is that black is going to love to move their d pawn out. They want to control the center, we always do. However, when they do, then that means that this knight is going to be pinned to the king. So that's another cool thing. And if you guys are thinking, okay, so maybe we have an early opportunity to capture this knight since it's the only defender of this pawn right here. So this isn't the main line, but I just want to show you guys, if you have an idea like this where maybe black just does a simple developing move like bishop to c5 on the next turn. If we say, okay, well, we can just take this knight right here and then they can take back. I mean, this trade is even points wise, but now this pawn is undefended, so we can go ahead and just snag that up for free. You actually do not want to do this because even though that pawn was not protected directly, what black can do is they can actually just take their queen and bring it out to d4, forking our knight and our pawn. And of course, we're going to have to move our knight away because we don't want to lose it. It doesn't matter where we move it. This queen is going to be able to capture our pawn with check. And essentially, it's not the best position. We definitely do not want to be in this situation right now. So again, do not take the pawn too early. That's your first word of warning. Now, going back to the main line, black's most common move actually isn't bringing their bishop out right now. It's actually taking their pawn and bringing it to a6. So again, in this line, I'm going to be covering the closed variation. In the upcoming videos, we'll take a look at all different variations. So when I say the most common move, I mean it for the closed variation. So bringing their pawn out to a6, of course, what they want to do is they want to force our bishop to make a decision. Hey, you're going to either get out of here, get out of my territory, or you're going to capture and I'm going to recapture you. And what we want to do with our bishop is we have a couple different options. We can capture, but this isn't the most popular variation. What we typically want to do is we want to take our bishop and bring it back to a4. Now, we also had the option, if I just point out real quick, we can also bring it to c4, but this isn't really the best idea because whenever we retreat it to a4, what we're doing is we're keeping this pin on the knight. Now, we really want to do this because that was our plan all along, and this little move pawn to a6, we really don't want that one move to kind of mess up our entire strategy. So again, the most common move for white in this position is just to take their bishop and retreat it to a4. This is a perfectly fine square as well. Now, if you're thinking, okay, well, there is actually some benefit in, instead of retreating, if we go back here, that whenever they play pawn to a6, if we take, then they take. I mean, okay, we gave them double pawns, but at the same time, we lost our bishop, and not only that, but now the queen has an open lane, this bishop has an open lane, and that one move is just really helping their development. So that is why retreating is the recommended move here. So after we retreat, what black typically does is they develop their other knight to f6. Now, just like we did with our knight, what this is going to do is it's going to develop with attack and also control this key central square. Now, right now, we do not have any defender on this pawn on e4. Now, we may be thinking, okay, so we probably want to play, knight to c3 or maybe d3 or something to get a defender on that pawn. But believe it or not, the most common move in this position is for white to castle. So what we're doing is we're actually giving black the option of taking right now on e4. However, if they do that, I'll just show you guys real quick, and I don't want to get too much into this, but if they do that, then we can actually play d4, and this actually complicates things for black. It's not always the best option. It does lead to a much more open game, and we're going to be taking a look at some of these lines later, but just to point out for now that the most common move for white is indeed castling. And from here, the most common thing is for black to just decide to develop their bishop somewhere. There are a bunch of different suggestions that people have, a bunch of different lines on specifying exactly where this bishop should go. But the main reason is that you want to develop it somewhere to pretty much prepare for castling. And we'll talk about the benefits of developing it to these other squares later on. But for right now, the most common one in the closed variation is just to develop it to e7. And that's all I'm going to go over for this video, since I just wanted to give you guys a basic introduction of some of the most common moves and show you guys the basic setup. But from here, just give you guys a little teaser. Usually white would bring his rook out to e1, protecting this pawn, and then both sides are going to start fighting for the center. All of these key squares right here, and that usually entails white making a very critical d4 push at the very right time. But in the upcoming videos is when we get into all this exciting theory. I am genuinely excited about it, which I don't know, it's just such a cool line, such a fantastic line with a bunch of cool ideas. But we're going to be talking about some of the most popular defenses for black, some key attacking ideas from white, and I'll show you guys some very clever, cool traps as well. So for now, as always, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you guys next video.